faces in this room. Most of us are from the baby boomers, a little bit younger. We grew up, music drove the culture. If you wanted to know what was going on, the analogy I always use, you may have seen this movie, it's a great movie, Putney Swope. Robert Downey Sr. made it. It's a fascinating story, but leaving 90% of it out, every time there's an Indian who gives the correct answer, and they say, how did you know? He goes, the drum. FM radio used to be the drum in the 60s and 70s. You tuned in not only for the music, for the news that was interesting to you. The DJ was your best friend. We all remember that, and music drove the culture. We didn't have this income inequality, and as a result, a lot of bright people went into music. They certainly went in to get laid, they certainly went to travel, they certainly went in for a little bit of money, but we were all in it together, and if you wanted to know what was going on, you listened to a record. We all grew up in that environment. It's not identical today. It's not 100% terrible, but it's not identical, and that's what bonds us. So we all know, never forget, I went to my friend Mark's house, and, he dropped the needle on Gimme Shelter. You all know the beginning, that sound. Wow. And that's the experience when you hear something great. The unfortunate thing, I don't know if I'm going to drop this name so fast, but the bottom line is that it's got to be great today. In the old days, I grew up in Connecticut, so we had New York radio, and it went through different evolutions. Most of the time, there were 1 or 2 good FM stations, okay? So if you got on that station, we wouldn't punch the button, certainly not at home, maybe in the car, and we would listen, because you were the filter. Today, you have to be incredible. You have to knock us dead. I'll give you one example. You may remember when Reagan was shot. When Reagan was shot, they delayed the Oscars 1 day. And that second day, which ended up being the Oscars, I had tickets to see Prince. If you know anything about Prince's career, first album's The Stiff, second album had a hit on black radio, I Want to Be Your Lover. Third record had no hits, but that was when we all woke up. It's called Dirty Mind. It's actually kind of funny, it's kind of a disco record. It's unbelievable. So I went to a place called Flipper's Roller Disco, which then became a clothing store, now is a CVS, okay? I went literally 25 people, okay? And
did you wear your skates?
I went a different night on my birthday. And I remember that band My Sex, Computer Games. Remember they played that over the stereo. But anyway, Prince came out and he's flopping on the bed. I'm talking about it now. It's 30 years later. I'll tell one more story. A friend of mine, Richard Griffiths, and although he's the manager of One Direction right now, don't hold that against him. He signed Pearl Jam. He was an agent. What about his second job? He's an English guy. And he was the agent. You may know Paul Kossoff, who was the guitarist in Free. Okay? Yeah, great guitarist. Okay? And he put them together with AC/DC on the same bill in a club outside of London. If you know the story, Paul Kossoff, he OD'd on the plane. So the gig was canceled, but AC/DC was already in the UK. So it happened to be one of those English basement clubs. You walk down a few steps. 6 people show up to see AC/DC. 6 people, okay? The Brownings were still the manager. They do the whole act. They carry Angus around on their shoulders, etc., etc. They play for an hour. They stop. The 6 people run out of the club. And Richard Griffiths is freaking out. He thinks he's going to get fired. And it's like, I want to continue to be the agent for AC/DC. When they came back on stage, like half an hour later, the club was full. Everybody ran out to call the telephone. Said, you got to see this act. They were that fucking good. Richard got fired anyway, but the point is, but we've all seen acts like that where we can't help but tell. One of the things that really makes me crazy, whether it be you're an act or you're a radio station, people believe it's still the old days where if you basically call me enough or email me enough, I'm going to cave. Actually, when it comes to me, if you lean on me, that's the worst thing you can do. I hate it. I'm waiting to hear it from other people. So, but if we hear something great, we tell everybody we know. Everybody hears a music fan, you tell everybody. Not because this is our business, that's the nature of things. Okay, so everybody has an iPhone. Windows launched a new phone about a month ago. No one has that. There's no word of mouth on the Windows iPhone. You can look it up online, okay? So we're looking for great in today's era.
As I was growing up, in my late teen years and early 20 years, AOR radio was in really bad shape. I mean, it had been homogenized so much that I don't remember great commercial radio in my early 20s or late teens yet. You know, I mean, there are a number of people of my same age that have come back to the radio because there's been something to listen to. My point is, you know, it seems to me like it's an either-or thing with you. It's like if you don't get these young kids right now listening to radio, we'll never get them. But my question, you know, I
hate to be blunt about it. Are the kids buying CDs? Are the kids buying Nokia phones? I mean, these kids, they move on. And one of the things, just to go sideways for a second, is everybody here will say, oh, you know, the kids, short attention span. They have the longest attention span of anybody I've ever known. You ever see them play Halo? I mean, there was that guy playing video games in Korea who literally died because he sat in front of the video game for 26 hours. They have an incredible hit-to-shit ratio, okay? So I'm not going to sit here and say everything you're doing is wrong and I know everything you're doing. You have a very dedicated audience. I can't tell you how many people email me about, you know, listening to All Things Considered or listening to the KCRW, but it's a certain type of person which will go one step further, okay? I live in Los Angeles, KCRW has a presence. I hate the people who listen to KCRW because they're holier than thou. And the DJs are too. It's like, morning becomes eclectic, I'm not up at that hour, I'm a late night person. But you were supposed to be my friend. You were not supposed to be a hipster. So in terms of what you call good radio, I mean, if we're talking music, and this is really a good music convention, the people who I connect with who are big public radio listeners tend to be baby boomers. I haven't done a scientific survey, okay? So those people, I would say, remember the days of listening to the radio. People here at my age, I'm 59, we remember going to bed with a transistor under our pillow, okay? So we were really dedicated to the radio.